Introducing Royal Caribbean's newest ship, Icon of the Seas, the ultimate family vacation. The ultimate 6 slides, 8 neighborhoods, 0 compromise vacation. The ultimate never done that, can't wait to do it vacation. The ultimate chillin' by a different pool every day of the week vacation. This is the Icon of Vacations. Icon of the Seas, arriving in 2024. Book today. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
It's time to get your hockey fix. This is Brave the Wild with your host, Paladino Joey, the leader of Minnesota Wild Hockey, here on thesportstuff.com. Hello again, hockey fans. Are you ready to brave the wild? With me, your host, Paladino Joey. Well, we have some games to review. I'm sure you guys were wondering where I've been, and I do apologize. Just been busy, schedule getting in the way, obviously other shows to do, stuff like that. So I do apologize. I couldn't get this show out last week, but I'm here once again this week. Very, very up and down play by the Minnesota Wild since our last episode. It's been a tough go indeed. Got the Gophers Elite 8 game in the background right now, so that's obviously good news. Is they're looking to they have a very good chance of heading to the Frozen Four. That's really good news for us out there. Gopher men's, of course. Gopher women lost in the championship game to Clarkson. Clarkson, but yeah, they lost, and that's unfortunate. And again, that's how it goes. I'm going to try to brush things with a broad stroke a bit until I get into the more recent games. Kind of jump around a bit. Very busy 5-game schedule. It would have been on last week's show. So we're going to try to keep things brief during that previous week. Minnesota heading to Boston. I did predict a loss in that one. That was, of course, St. Patrick's Day. Hope all of you had a safe St. Patrick's Day. Yeah, safe. That's... yeah, very important. A 4-1 loss against the best team in the league, in my humble opinion, the Boston Bruins. St. Louis Blues are pretty close to being the best team in the league, too, and yeah, we'll talk about them a little bit later here. 4-1 loss to Boston, a pretty icky game for the Minnesota Wild. Lots of mistakes, totally outplayed. It sucked, and that's the end of the story. Obviously, Jerome McGinley, of course, scored in that game. What a surprise. What a freaking surprise. Jerome McGinley scored against the Wild. All-time leading scorer in the history of Wild opponents. Congratulations, Jerome McGinley, for your 9 bajillionth point against us. All right, so now on to Tuesday, March 18th. Back-to-back situation heading into Long Island or wherever it is now. I believe it's still Long Island. Yes, they're not quite in Brooklyn yet. Minnesota Wild at home gave up a pretty big lead, a horrible choke job by the Wild earlier this season. But in New York, a 6-0 victory. The Wild coasted in a big way. Matt Moulson, 2 goals in that game. A nice homecoming party for him. The fans treated him very well, and obviously they want him back very badly. Possibility he could return. We'll see how things go there. If the trade-off was Moulson for Vanek, I wouldn't really shed a tear. Because, yeah, I think Vanek's a little more clutch than Moulson. That's definitely the approach I was talking about in the last show. Not really seeing Moulson as Mr. Clutch in any way. He just scores once in a while, and obviously he's a better scorer than a lot of players the Wild have had over the last many years. Yet at the same time, I see Matt Moulson as a very streaky player. He'll rack up the points for a couple days, and then you don't find him with a searchlight for a good week or so. I'm trying to get into Matt Moulson in a good way, trying to enjoy him out there, but not really. I don't know. It's not really catching on for me yet. We'll see what happens. Pominville right away, I liked him. He was consistent. He's been a little bit less consistent this year, but at the same time, he's actually been scoring more often than last year. So very happy with Pominville versus Moulson in terms of the trade deadline acquisitions for the Wild in the last 2 years. Still driving me nuts, though, how the Wild in general not necessarily scoring more goals, even though they've been adding more scores. Why that is just beyond me, other than it could very well be the coaching and the lines we're putting out there, which are generating a lot of debate and a lot of frustration with hockey fans in this town, be it the real media, the alternative media, the newspaper, whatever it is, or just fans on Twitter. People are getting annoyed with the lines by Mr. Mike Yo. I am one of them as well. We'll get back to that again. Bouncing around already. So you go from one homecoming for Matt Molson to another homecoming for Mr. Zach Parise, who it was his choice to leave. The Islanders obviously traded Molson for Vanek. So obviously a situation quite different. Minnesota heading into New Jersey, I thought was going to be a win for the Wild. New Jersey's not really that good. And this game just kind of fell apart. Zach Parise booed a bit. Not a fun night for him. I can't imagine a shootout loss for the Minnesota Wild. They managed to tie it up late with a really nice surge. They were getting beat the entire game, and it was real frustrating. The Wild managed to score 3 goals in a row and tie the sucker up. Yeah, good for them. I'm very happy they did. Thank God for that. And there it was. The Minnesota Wild forced overtime, only to lose. No, they didn't get 3 goals in a row. I do apologize. Jaromir Jagr scored after Zach Parise in there. Yeah, Jaromir Jagr, a guy who's playing way better than Danny Heatley, even though he's much older than Danny Heatley. So age not a issue for him. Heatley, oh boy. Yeah, boy. We'll get back to him later too. Yeah. Well, I was about to pass the James Shepard Award out to the wrong person. Hint, hint. But a very nice period for the Minnesota Wild in their first line. Even though the defenseman assisted on Zach Parise's goal and Spurgeon assisted on Granlund's goal as well. Then the third line, the defenseman assisted with Matt Cook. So very interesting, tying things up with about 4.5 minutes remaining. That was great. Unfortunately, though, Andy Green scoring 2 minutes exactly into overtime. And the New Jersey Devils, victors over the Minnesota Wild, despite a nice little furious comeback. It's annoying that it even took a comeback for this game to get into overtime. Really, really quite annoying indeed for all of us here in the Twin Cities and abroad, I'm sure. So there it is. At least we got a point out of it. Mike, we got a point out of it. So that's good. I'm glad we were able to get a point out of it. So then the Wild play the Detroit Red Wings at home. You figure in a home-and-home situation, they're more likely to win the home game. Obviously, that's just the way it goes. The Wild do not win the home game. No, the Wild lose 3-2 against the Detroit Red Wings Saturday, March the 22nd. Detroit, I never want to say Detroit. It's Detroit. Score a goal in all 3 periods. And they just kind of were consistently better than the Minnesota Wild. Mikko Koivu scoring. Charlie Coyle beginning his scoring trend. He has really been on the uptrend of late. Very happy with Charlie Coyle scoring on a penalty shot. A pretty nice move, actually. Kind of surprised me. It's like, I didn't know you had it in you, Charlie, even though I should have known you had it in you. But it's just he's been so doggone quiet. Nifty move. Very happy with what he was able to accomplish with that one. Counted it as the 8th goal of the year. He was obviously tripped trying to, when he was on a potential breakaway. Then he was able to score his 8th goal of the year. And it's like, hey, this thing's tied up. Only 15 seconds into the third period, but then 5 minutes later, Nyquist scores his 21st goal of the year. Detroit takes the lead, puts the clamps down. The Wild can't finish, and they just can't finish. End of story. A regulation loss for the Wild. Yeah, we did not get a point out of this one. Jimmy Howard always seems to slam the door on the Wild, and he did it again. And it's just, Jimmy Howard, man. The Wild have definitely had a tough time with him. 2 very familiar names still skating on those Detroit Red Wings. Todd Bertuzzi still playing in this league. Remember that guy? Obviously, years ago I would have said he would have been the perfect fit for the Wild, but of course that was before everything took place. Gosh, that's been about 9 years now. Man. And Daniel Alfredson still playing, of course, the former Ottawa Senator, playing with the Detroit Red Wings, and good for him indeed. After about a bajillion years with the Senators, he signs with the Red Wings. Oh well. So, yeah, there it is. The Wild lose that one, and you figure, oh, great. Now we're going to get swept, just like we did against Colorado earlier this year. Another home-and-home sweep job. And it sure looked like it because Detroit made it 2-0 pretty early in this one. Very, very frustrating. Scoring 2 goals in the first period, Nyquist scoring 2 goals. So there it is. 3 goals in a row for him, basically, over the course of 2 days. 22nd and 23rd, respectively. And the frustration starting to mount for myself and a Minnesota Wild fan. But then the Wild mount a comeback. They actually start playing with some urgency. They start playing with a sense of urgency, and they actually start looking pretty good. Mikko Koivu mysteriously on the power play instead of Mikhail Granlund assisting on Pominville's 27th goal of the year. Charlie Coyle again on getting it done on that second line. Molson, Koivu, and Coyle in this one. Coyle finishing his 9th goal of the year, so there's Coyle's 2nd goal already in his many nights, beginning his little trend. Zach Parise also keeping his trend going. He has been red hot for quite a while. Scores again, 3-2 Wild all of a sudden, and I was just stunned. Like, oh my God, the Wild are up 3-2 in Detroit. We actually scored 3 goals in a row in Detroit. A few minutes later, Thomas Tatar scores his 16th. You figure at that point, yeah, great. It was nice while it lasted. Detroit's probably going to win this game. 2 sides exchange shots back and forth. You could just feel it, though. The Wild are going to lose this one. Watch, it'll probably just go to the shootout, and we'll lose like we always do, because right now I have no faith in this team in the shootout. When Darcy Kemper was on his hot streak, it's like, oh my God, we're going to win the shootout, man, because Kemper, if we get to the shootout, we're going to win, because Kemper is just a stone wall in the shootouts. Now he's a complete sieve. Briskalov, I don't trust him in the shootouts either, but we don't need the shootout because Matt Molson scoring. I couldn't believe it, tipping it in. That's kind of what Molson does, is tip it in, redirect and tip in. That's pretty much most of his goals, and he did it here on a Jonas Brodin shot. Oh, my God, did that feel good. We actually beat Detroit on the road. It's like, wow, there's hope for this team. There really is. We might even make some noise in the playoffs. Yeah, we might even make some noise in the playoffs. Yeah, little did we know what was to follow. The next 2 games here. Vancouver, Wednesday the 26th. And St. Louis, Thursday, March 27th. Okay, everybody figures we're going to lose to St. Louis, but Vancouver on quite the, yeah, they've been on quite the snide of late, pretty much like forever. All this talk about Daniel Sundin and Henrik Sundin, oh, they're done. You know, Vancouver's going to be rebuilding. They suck. They all want to get their coach fired. Vancouver's just quit. Yeah, obviously quit on their coach. They're rebuilding. Like I just said, the Sundins are done, all that good stuff. Yeah, they're done. All that's so true, it's just not even funny. Yeah. This was one of the worst games I've ever seen in my whole life. I mean, Vancouver, of course, winning 5-2. Yeah, Vancouver winning 5-2. Charlie Coyle scoring for the 3rd game in a row, which is pretty awesome. His 10th of the year. Again, Charlie Coyle, the lone positive for quite a while for the Wild. Well, not the lone positive, but a very positive for the Wild of late. But Darcy Kemper, holy mother of Moses. I mean, it's just throw the puck on net and oh, there it went. I mean, there it goes, right over his shoulder, right through his, right through his legs, whatever the hell it was. It didn't even matter if it was high or low. They were going to score on him. It was a complete bleeping joke. Like, really, what more is there to say? I mean, this whole game in general was a joke. Just, again, put the puck on net. And, of course, obviously, this game right here generated some interesting conversation from the head coach after the game. Very interesting indeed. He basically said that the game plan was to have a north-south approach. Get the pucks behind the Vancouver defenseman. And the Wild forwards took an east-west approach, just simply trying to make pass back and forth, which led to turnovers, odd-man rushes, and, of course, well, Civ goals allowed by Captain Civ Kemper. Whatever the heck. Okay, I apologize for that. That was kind of silly, but, well, he was definitely a Civ in this game. Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah. I mean, are you serious? Beautiful stuff. But, in general, this game and into the St. Louis game, let's just combine them together. It just showed, in general, that this team is out of sync. Out of sync. Is it the players, the coaches, or both? And personally, ladies and gentlemen, I say both. And yeah, things change for the positives as we head into Phoenix. But do you guys want to take the red pill or the blue pill? Which one do you want to take? As now I'm beginning to remember the movie. I couldn't remember it on Purple Mafia for some strange reason. But it seems like all the teams in this town, you have a red pill and blue pill situation. With the Vikings, hopefully not now, but obviously with Ponder and Frazier, you want them to fail in a sick way because you wanted the fans and the organization, well, the organization, not just the fan, the organization in general, the owners and such, to take the red pill. Wake up. Don't fall asleep or don't stay asleep and allow this nonsense to continue because of a cute little win against a mediocre team or a halfway decent team. You want to wake up. You want to wake up. Do you want to take the red pill and wake up at the situation? Because I personally do believe, in the grand scheme of things, in the off-season, that a change is needed. Be it Mike Yeo is fired or a Mikko Koivu is traded. Mikko Koivu was definitely one of the reasons, one of the players that was not in sync with the coach, with the East-West approach. And unfortunately, Erik Haula even went East-West a bit instead of putting the puck on net or at least past the Vancouver defense. But even Erik Haula, who I think is about as north-south as it gets. I mean, the guy skates about 100 miles an hour towards the net, which unfortunately led to a concussion to Mr. Lettinen of Dallas a while ago now. That was on the last show. Well, that was 2 weeks. The show was 2 weeks ago. The game was 3 weeks ago already. God damn, time flies. Seems like yesterday. But, yeah, the out of sync, just the team in general, out of sync, these two games. As yes, the Wild did lose to St. Louis in a very, very harsh fashion. The game was 5-0 at one point. St. Louis said they were going to make a statement on this again Thursday, March 27th. They're going to make a statement against the Minnesota Wild because the possibility exists that these two could face off in the first round. And St. Louis is like, this is what's going to happen to you sons of bleeps if you try anything. We're going to kick your ass physically and on the scoreboard. St. Louis kicked the Wild's ass on physically and on the scoreboard. They intimidated the Minnesota Wild time in and time out. Backes is one of the biggest jackasses in the NHL. I don't blame anybody on Twitter or Facebook or watching the game in general that can't stand Backes or the St. Louis Blues. My hatred for that team, the Blackhawks and others, several teams in the Western Conference, Detroit Red Wings, who are no longer in the West, but you know that hatred generates to obviously over 20 years ago with the Norris division, with the Minnesota North Stars, I almost call them the Wild, the North Stars. Obviously, there's a pinned up hatred for these teams for many, 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 many years. I can't stand the St. Louis Blues, so naturally, you have a guy like Backes, who I don't give a damn where he's from. Yeah, he's from Minnesota. I really don't give a rat's ass where TJ Oshie's from either. Great, it's from Warroad, Minnesota, and that changes what? What does that change? He's on a division rival who is quite the thorn in the side for this team right now, and basically is toying with us, mocking us time and time again. He had a hat trick in this game, his first career hat trick. Looked like it was his 99th hat trick. It was so damn easy for him. Congratulations to the Minnesota Wild in allowing that to happen. Not a natural hat trick because they weren't all consecutive, but whatever, hat trick's a hat trick. Ah, gee, Merry Christmas. Zach Parise, who scored like a million goals of late, did get his 25th in this game with 11 minutes left. Yeah, it was already 5-1 at that point. Congratulations. And yes, it was Darcy Kuemper, who just sucked hardcore in this game. He faced 24 shots. 24 shots faced for Darcy Kuemper. Excuse me, and it was Civ City. Civ City in St. Louis. Oh, St. Civ Kuemper. And again, I do apologize, but he was terrible. Terrible. It's just like the puck went right over him, right through him, wherever. It didn't even matter. It just was like, eh. I mean, St. Louis was da-da-da-da-da. They're just dancing around out there. No problem for them. Boy. And the Wild looked like a complete mess. They looked frustrated. Kyle Broziak had a game misconduct penalty with a frustration. Oh, boy. Drawn by TJ Oshie, served by Nino Niederreiter. That was the 2-minute part of it. And then, obviously, a game misconduct to Broziak. There was also, obviously, a lot going on between Kumper and Backus. Backus is trash-talking Kumper. Kumper cross-checked him. Things got pretty interesting at that point. It's just a complete mess. St. Louis just toyed the Wild, mocked the Wild, trash-talked the Wild over and over again, time and time again. Didn't even matter. We were their bitch. We were the St. Louis Blues bitch. What more is there to say? Might as well move on, huh? Jonathan Blum, I'm glad he got his chance to play the past few days. Supposedly he's going to be hanging on throughout the postseason. That's good. Not really sure what the Cody McCormicks are doing for this team, to be honest with you. Cody McCormick, okay, great. He adds grit. And that made what difference against St. Louis? Fill me in on that one, what Cody McCormick does for this team. Fill me in why you wouldn't want to have Justin Fontaine in there. Not the best player in the world, but a scorer. And I know it's been rehashed all over the place, but you got to say what you got to say. Some of you probably may not be listening to the shows around this town. And I'm not trying to copy them because I'm making the same gosh darn observation. This team's not scoring goals. And Justin Fontaine is one of the leading goal scorers in this team, if you can believe that. Cody McCormick. What the hell was the point of Cody McCormick being on the NHL roster? He adds grit. What the hell? What grit? What's the point? What, he could knock somebody around a little bit? And that changes what? What did that change? Absolutely bleeping nothing. You have to beat him on the scoreboard. There's plenty of physical players on the Wild. Plenty. Just play the damn game. That's all you got to do. Just score goals. If they want to play physical, fine. Good for them. What did it do for the North Stars trying to beat up on the Boston Bruins years ago? They got slammed 5-1 when they tried to get overly physical against the Boston Bruins years ago. That trillion-year-old thing. They tried to send a message, and they sent a message to themselves in that one. You know, what does it really accomplish? Montreal and Ottawa last year. What the hell was that? Woohoo! You know. So again, just score goals. Yeah, that's all there is to say. Danny Heatley, yeah, he sucks. He sucks. Doesn't need to be on the ice. End of story. Just does absolutely nothing. He was forming a nice chemistry, to be fair, with Charlie Coyle a while ago. But now, I don't even know who's on what line anymore. It's getting it's just a deck of cards, and you just shuffle them and throw them on the floor and throw them up in the air. Okay, let's see. Oh, okay, this one is Parisi. This one is Eric Holla, and this one is Fontaine. There we go. You know, that's basically what Mike Yeo is doing at this point. Okay, maybe not that bad, but it seems like it, doggone it. So with that said, Minnesota Wild, very, very, very narrow 1-point lead over the Phoenix Coyotes for the 8th seed, and a 2-point lead over the Dallas Stars after they beat the St. Louis Blues in St. Louis. Yeah, they beat the Blues. The Dallas Stars beat the Blues. And it's like, yeah, I think the Wild are going to miss the playoffs. Oh, I think so. Heading into Phoenix, they're going to lose this game. You can just tell they're going to lose the game. Saturday, March 29th. Yeah. I mean, it's like, yeah, the Wild are going to lose this game. You could just tell. But Danny Heatley was scratched. Brizgala's in net, but, Brizgala, yeah. Yeah, hell, he's slightly better than Kumper right now, but he gives up some easy ones, too. Mikhail Budker scoring his 19th of the year on the power play. The Wild with an early penalty. Very early penalty in the game. Really stinking frustrating. Too many men on the ice. Great job there. Great job. Too many men on the ice. Thank you very, very much. Shane Doan has been on the... Who was on the Winnipeg Jets. That's how long he's been with this franchise. The real Winnipeg Jets, not that Not that crappy-looking Labatt Blue logo they have now. That was the former Atlanta Thrashers. Not that team. But, just 3 minutes into the game, 1-0 Phoenix. We're done. You can just tell. We're going to miss the playoffs, but at least we'll take the red pill. That means Mike Yo's going to get fired, and maybe we'll make a trade, too. I'm telling you, Mikko Koivu, he could rack up 1 million assists. All he wants, but I'm telling you, man, chemistry on this team is not the same when he came back. It wasn't, and if you don't see it, I'm telling you, you have to see it. You have to see it. It's plain as day. And obviously the line's getting shuffled all over the bleeping place, putting Parise and Koivu back together. With Coyle, okay, that's cool. That was the number one line last year for quite a while. Coyle back to the right wing spot. Zach Parise always at the left wing spot. Koivu, the number one line center. Stunning for me. But, of course, at least Granlund and Pominville stayed together. We'll get back to that again. Because all of them factored in the third period. Yeah. Grinded out second period. Fairly boring. A few chances here and there. But just a typical grind it against the wall. Because apparently, according to Mike Yo, that Fontaine needs to work on his wall work. He needs to work on his wall game. Yeah. Gotta work on that wall game there. Yeah, he's got to work on the wall game. So you got McCormick out there instead. But quite frankly, I'd rather have Stefan Vejo in there than McCormick. I think Stefan Vejo provides more of a punch than that guy. I just think he's more energetic than McCormick. Oh, gosh darn it. Well, there's Stefan Vejo. Okay. Cool. Because he occasionally scores once every million years, where McCormick never, ever does score, ever. So you don't even see a hint of a scoring chance with that guy. He's just there to bang around and be a good wall player. He's really good at it. Fontaine did not provide all too much of a spark. Not quite the hat trick performance, but at least he was out there. And he was all right. Veju with 4 hits. Charlie Coyle with 5. Charlie Coyle was a +2 in this game. He didn't score, but boy, he looked good out there. He did a really good job. And the Minnesota Wild scored 3 goals in the third period. And Phoenix never scores again. That's right, Briskalov made a lot of nice stops along the way. Nothing spectacular, but a lot of good stops. And Parise and Koivu hook up for 2 goals. Right when I was about to say the chemistry between those two is overrated, and it was overrated, I thought, for the last year and a half until they finally broke those guys up. You had Granlund, Pominville, and Parise. It was the greatest line in Wild history, and it is. I still say it is. But Granlund and Pominville still work together with Jared Spurgeon on his nice little 5th goal of the year. It's a nice little shot, indeed. Very cool. And the Wild win in Phoenix. Yeah. And yes, we did win in Phoenix earlier this year thanks to Fontaine's hat trick. Parise obviously was an empty net on the third one. A nice little shot from the corner that he was able to get in there. Nice little shot. Yes. I liked it. Put the nail in the coffin. And I was like, oh my God, we're actually going to beat Phoenix. And we did. And all right then. We built a tiny little cushion between the Wild and Phoenix. And of course the Dallas Stars. 4-game cushion with Dallas. 3-game cushion, or not game, 4-point cushion. I think I made that mistake on the last show. It's points, not games. 3-point cushion over the Phoenix Coyotes. They only had a 1-point difference between the two. It was only an overtime loss. Phoenix had 1 more overtime loss. The Wild had 1 more win. That's all was the difference. But now it's a 3-point cushion. Thank God Almighty. Nice, strong finish to what had been a pretty icky stretch of hockey, at least over the 2 games. Yeah, no, it kind of reminded me of the Detroit game where the sense of urgency picked up, and it's like, oh my God, this team is realizing that they are a decent team. I mean, why do you got to be so fragile, and why do you got to be so stupid and so just ignorant out there? I just couldn't believe it. But if this team could actually show some consistency out there, they might actually be a halfway decent team and might even go on a playoff run. But those Vancouver and St. Louis games told me that this team ain't ready to make any kind of run of any kind. And obviously the coach says a lot of stuff that makes no sense. A lot of stuff. Oh my. Yet at the same time, if the players are out of sync with the coach, Yeah, it's a mess in a lot of ways. So we'll see. At least the Wild did seem to approach the north-south style versus the east-west in the Phoenix game. So I do appreciate that. Let's put an end to this segment with the Mike Modano Award and the James Shepard Memorial. Mike Modano Award has got to go to Zach Parise. He has been unbelievable for a very, very, very long period of time. Charlie Coyle, honorable mention, has been a factor along the way. One of the few positives, but Parise's pretty much been in every game as well. Parise and Coyle. Parise's like, if you want to go with the star system, we'll go Parise number 1, Coyle number 2, number 3. There really isn't a number 3, is there? No, we'll go with Koivu because he actually got a lot of assists this week. So we'll give it to Koivu, even though I'm kind of been picking on him quite a bit. But Koivu is in no position to be in the James Shepard Memorial. No. If we want to do 3 there, I mean, it's got to be Heatley's number 1 because he's just flat terrible. And thank God the Wild finally, or even though the coach, obviously, finally scratched him going to the Phoenix game. And, gee, what a coincidence we won. Gee, At least he isn't getting us killed out there. Number 2, Kumper, without a doubt. And number 3, it's like for a while there, it was like Spurgeon. He looked like crud out there, but at least he got a nice goal against Phoenix. But I guess kind of a very weak number 3, I guess, goes to Spurgeon. That goal really saved his bacon. Maybe we'll just go with 2. So we'll just go with 2 bad stars or 2, the James Shepard Award ultimately goes to Danny Heatley, though. So congratulations, Danny Heatley. We'll be back right after this for the preview segment as we head into April. We wrap up March in Los Angeles, and we march into April. Be back right after this.
Do you shop on Amazon? Did you know that you can support this podcast just by doing your normal shopping on Amazon? It's really easy to do. Just go to thesportstuff.com and click on one of the many Amazon pictures. Do your normal shopping, and Amazon sees that we referred you, and they give us a percentage. We'd like to thank you in advance for supporting thesportstuff.com, and please use our Amazon link. Now enjoy the rest of the show.
We are going round.
Too busy to sit in front of a computer? Simply download Brave the Wild on iTunes for Apple devices. For Android, download the Double Twist app. And for Windows and BlackBerry phones, simply find us in the store. And now, back to Paladino Joey. And we are back here on Brave the Wild. Well, time to head into the preview segment, as I was trying to say at the end of the break there. Monday, March the 31st, Minnesota Wild heading to the City of Angels to play the, recent Stanley Cup champion, Los Angeles Kings, the 2012 champions. The Wild did win in LA earlier this year. That was nice. Very nice indeed. Darcy Kumper's coming out party out of nowhere. A very exciting night. Changed the fortunes of this franchise for quite a while. Funny how Koivu was out at that point. And Koivu was out. He was injured. And it's like, wow, I guess we're just going to get killed by the Kings, and then obviously everything changed. So it's been a shootout. It's been a shootout in both cases. The LA Kings beat the Wild in the shootout. It was Backstrom in net. Yeah, anybody could beat Wild in a shootout there. Backstrom is one of the worst shootout goalies of all time. Darcy Kumper saved the day January the 7th. So we have a split right now, and the winner of this game is the winner of the season series. Of course, 3 games with teams outside of your division in the Western Conference, or of course Eastern Conference if you happen to be there. So here we go. Let's win the season series in Los Angeles. Easier said than done, I'm sure. Kings have a obviously better record than the Minnesota Wild. They will most likely be a threat in the league, in the playoffs, a 5th or 6th seed right now. So anything could happen there. We shall see indeed. 94 points on the year. Yeah, they're not going to move up in that division, so they will be a 5th or 6th seed without a doubt. You got San Jose and Anaheim. You get California ruling that Pacific Division in a big way. I mean, Anaheim, San Jose, Los Angeles, it's like, great. California and hockey. Yeah. So no Edmonton, no Calgary, no Vancouver. That's funny. It's quite funny indeed. Anze Kopitar, boy, the Gophers just continue to kick some butt. 4-0 lead right now for the Gophers. 4 as in Frozen 4. Yes, Frozen 4. It's going to happen, and I'm very excited. But yeah, Kopitar leading the way, 62 points. Jeff Carr with 47, Mike Richards with 41. So it's like, it's a deep team. Obviously, they're a deep team. Players going along the way, obviously, but not like the highest scoring team in the world. Jonathan Quick's goaltending, obviously, well, unbelievable for the most part. 5 shutouts on the year already. Goals against average of just over 2, and I mean just over 2. He's 26 and 15 on the year. One of the best goalies on the planet. Only wish he could have been teeny bit better in the Olympics, but then again, he was just fine. What am I talking about? Not quite his fault that the USA lost. No, he gave up 1 freaking goal against Canada, so yeah, he's pretty damn good. I don't know what to make of this one. I really don't. You know, the Wild are so weird. They're kind of like the Timberwolves, aren't they? They just get their ass kicked one night, and then they play super good the next night. The Wild are just a little bit better, obviously, with 38 and 26 versus the Timberwolves being about 2 games above 500. Oh, I don't know. I'd like to say the Wild are going to win this one. These teams play very interesting hockey. I don't think it's going to be any 4-1 type situation, like a big 4-1 loss or anything. I don't think it's going to be that, but then again, I mean, Backstrom was playing okay in that game until that stinking shootout, and then Kemper was just ridiculously good against the Kings last time. I got to think Brizgalov is going to be a net, because Kemper's been just flat terrible the last 2 or 3 weeks here. About 2 weeks, Kemper's been terrible. Brizgalov is a little bit, Brizgalov, that's the thing with Brizgalov, at least he's gotten a point in every single game he's played so far for the Wild. So, my bet and money's on Brizgalov in the net, and I do believe this will go to a shootout again. We'll just say it's going to go to a shootout, give or take. Which probably means a loss. Yeah, Quick versus Brizgalov. I'll say a shootout loss for the Wild, to be honest, which means the Kings will win the season series by a single point. I hope that's not the case, but let's just go with I'm going to go with what I feel, a shootout loss, because I don't trust Brizgalov in the shootout. I just don't. I think he'll keep the Wild in the game. A 2-2 game. I'll say LA wins 3-2 in the shootout. So there it is. I'm really sorry. I'd like to say we'd win, but we will get a point out of it. On to April, the final month of the regular season, and then eventually the first round of the playoffs. I don't like this schedule at all. Wild head to Chicago Thursday, April the 3rd. So we got one more game after the Pittsburgh one. Wild head to Chicago. Don't like it at all. The Wild, I don't even know what to say here. It's been an interesting season series, I suppose. I mean, the Wild did win once. Actually, they've won twice. Pardon me. They've won 3 times. Look at me. I'm going ape right now. Sorry about that. I can't believe the Wild have won 3 times against this team, actually. But, yeah, there was a 5-1 debacle. That was a home-and-home situation, and now it's coming back here. I do apologize about that. 5-3 in October 26th. Just 2 days later, October 28th, 5-3 victory for the Wild, the first one. October 28th, Chicago crushes the Wild 5-1, and then the Wild win 4-3 at home, and then 2-1 at home. So now we wrap things up in Chicago. So the Wild, pardon me, have already won the season series 3 games to 1 or 2. So do the Wild dominate with a 4-1 season series victory, which would mean a playoff victory if there was such a thing, if this actually counted that way, but unfortunately it doesn't. This will be on the NBC Sports channel as well. So yeah, this one will be nationally televised on cable on that beautiful 1080 sports channel. It's nice that some sports channels are 1080 out there. It's not quite enough of those. To the point. I don't think so. The Wild don't usually play well in these NBC games, except for the Buffalo game. But yeah, it was Buffalo, big freaking deal. Woohoo! Worst team in hockey. The Wild Boy, tape passes by the Wild, tic-tac-toe. Yeah, it's Buffalo. You know, when the Wild play Buffalo, it's like we're the St. Louis Blues against the Wild. You know, I mean, it was just like, bring it on. You know, who cares? It's Buffalo. I think Chicago wins. Unfortunately, I'm going to go with a... Boy, let's just pray to God it's not Darcy Kemper, but it's going to be a tough week for the Wild. It's going to hurt their playoff chances, and that sucks. It really does. So, yeah, I'm going to go with a Chicago victory. They're going to make the series closer. Yeah, closer. It'll be a 3-2 season series, in my humble opinion. Chicago wins 3-2. 3-2 in regulation, unfortunately. So, no points for the Wild in this one. Hope I'm wrong, but we'll just leave it as is. Chicago, obviously, extremely talented. Jonathan Taves is hurt right now, so might increase the Wild's chances of winning, but I just don't see it, personally. I just think Chicago is going to get things going here, even though they've not been playing super-duper great of late. But that's just the way I feel, and it seems like the Wild are cursed when it's NBC Sports Network. I don't know why. So the Wild host the Pittsburgh Penguins to wrap up this segment. They host the Pittsburgh Penguins Saturday, April the 5th. That should be a fun game. At least I hope so. Pittsburgh is really doing well. Also, they killed the Wild 5-2 in Pittsburgh back on December the 19th. More of the same in this one? No, I don't think so. I think the Wild win this one, actually. I think the Wild, the desperation picks up after a couple of frustrating losses to Chicago and LA, and I think the Wild win this sucker 4-2. I think the Wild score some goals in this one. You're going to see some Pominvilles and some Parisis scoring in this one, and maybe obviously a Spurgeon Suit or somebody like that. Obviously, you're going to see defensemen score. You're going to see forward score, Grenlund, somebody like that. But you're definitely going to see a Parisi or Pominville or both goal in this one. 4-2 Minnesota. They will score against this high-scoring team. There's obviously some injuries, but none to super-duper important players. Obviously, it's not good to see Pascal Dupuis being out for the year with a torn ACL. Broken hand to Paul Martin. That's not good, but obviously the big guns will be playing. And they will score at least 2 goals against Briskalov. Okay, we're going to go 4-3 because, yeah, this team scores a lot of points. In fact, they score a ton of goals. So, yeah, 4-3 Minnesota is going to be the final score in this one. So there you go. Wild find a way to score against Mr. Fleury. Ooh, Fleury. He's so great, isn't he? Actually, he can be. He's streaky. 2.5 goals, 3.5 goals against average. 5 shutouts on the year, but I think the Wild, again, do score against the former number 1 overall pick in 2003. So, it's just a vibe I'm going with. I think the Wild play some urgent hockey out there. They play with a sense of urgency in that one and save face for the week. So, it'll be a 1-1-1 week for the Wild. Rock and roll. and then eventually they head to Winnipeg and host Boston, host St. Louis, and host Nashville to wrap up the regular season. So we will be previewing the final 4 games of the regular season on the next episode of Brave the Wild, as long as all goes well and I'm able to record next weekend, and I will do the best I can to do so, indeed. Maybe it's Saturday night, who knows. In fact, that's usually the way I like to do it in the past, but yeah, we'll see. We will take a break, and we will come back for the North Stars Memory segment. Yeah, it'll be the 3rd segment, obviously, with the North Stars Memory, and, of course, a brief, very, very brief checkup on the Iowa Wild, just for the heck of it, right? Because, obviously not as much going on there as there was earlier. So, yeah, we'll be back right after this. Contact us and support Brave the Wild by liking us on Facebook and following us on Twitter. Don't forget to call into our phone lines at 209-736-7877. That's 209-736-7877. And we are back here on Brave the Wild for the final segment of this episode. Time to get into the North Stars Memory. Well, since the Minnesota Wild are fighting for a playoff berth, and it's going to be a very interesting week, 2-week span here. It's going to be a little scary, I think, especially with these games against Pittsburgh and Chicago and LA, coming up this upcoming week, where I think the Wild go 1-1-1, like I said. But how many times did the North Stars make the playoffs? Well, apparently, over a 23-year span, the North Stars made the playoffs 17 times. Because back in the day, it was pretty easy to make the playoffs. Like, you had to beat the you had to beat the worst team in the league a couple times, then you'd make it back in those days. Like, that was at least the saying, which is obviously a lot of bull. But at the same time, a lot of times you just have to finish 4th place in a 5-team division and you'd make the playoffs. Yeah, of course you get trounced in the first round most of the time, but once in a while you'd make a little run. Obviously, a la the 1990-91 North Stars, which had the run of a lifetime. That was pretty awesome. Second worst record in the whole postseason. Vancouver amazingly had one less point than that team to go on to, get beat early in their case. Yeah, the Vancouver Canucks were around back then too, obviously. Anyhow, but yeah, the North Stars made the playoffs 17 times, a 77-82 playoff record. And a while ago, I said that the Minnesota North Stars won only one division championship, but it was actually 2 over the course of time, which actually is kind of surprising for me in a way. But they were in a very close proximity. Yeah, and they got the crap kicked out of them. And it seemed like whenever the North Stars were good, there's always some dynasty team that would knock them out. Or, well, the North Stars came back returned from a awesome Stanley Cup Finals run. Again, they ran into a dynasty and lost 4-1 in 80-81. Then that next year they won the division and all that good stuff. North Stars made the playoffs quite a few years in a row there for a while. They really stunk in the 70s, but had some good ones. Yeah, they went to the Stanley Cup Finals, lost to the Islanders, won the division, then got beat 3-1, 3-1 against the Blackhawks the next year, even though they won the division. Strongest season ever at that point. In fact, it was the strongest season ever for that club, particularly. Then they won the division a couple years later, lost the conference finals to a new dynasty, the Edmonton Oilers. 4-0, swept in the first round. Ouch. That sucked. Very interesting to see how it was the exact same setup as the exact same brackets and all that as the 1990-91 North Stars. They beat the Blackhawks in round 1, beat the Blues in round 2, and then faced the Oilers in the conference finals. Much less happy fate for the North Stars in that one. A 4-0 sweep job. That sucked. But yeah, 17 playoff appearances for the North Stars over the course of time. The Minnesota Wild have been to the playoffs 4 times. Will this be their 5th? We shall see. Ultimately, the Minnesota Wild right now have a 19-22 record in the postseason. So, yeah, it's not the prettiest thing you ever saw, but it is what it is. Yeah, 12-22 record in the postseason. Wonderful start to it back in 2003. Wonderful start. In fact, they were, they had to go to 7 games twice, so it didn't really help their win-loss record, and getting swept by Anaheim gave the Wild a losing record, which kind of a drag, huh? They won, obviously, 8 playoff games that year and lost 11. So that's crazy to think that. You go to the conference finals and you're only 8-11. Isn't that crazy? But that's how it goes. And, of course, they lost to Anaheim 4-1 in 2007. Lost to Colorado 4-2 in 2008. Back-to-back playoff appearances. Wow. And then, of course, last season, 2013, 4-1 loss to the Chicago Blackhawks, adding up to a modest, very modest 12-22 record in the postseason. Hoping that the fortunes of the Minnesota Wild changes this year. Not looking good right now, but who knows? Things didn't look good back in 90-91 either. But yeah, okay, we know. you got it, right? On to the very brief, and I mean very, very brief, check-in on the Iowa Wild. Really, the only guy worth watching, unless you really are worried about Brad Winchester, who's been a career minor leaguer, leading the team in scoring with 35 points. Zach Phillips has now reached the 30-point mark in 67 games. So, again, nothing really too exciting for the Iowa Wild right now. Brett Ballmer's still stuck at 19 points, but of course he's been out forever. Rafael Berceris, only 19 points in 57 games. Steven Camper has been picking up a few points of late. He's probably been on fire the most with the Iowa Wild. 23 points as a defenseman in 60 games. Not bad. But, again, he's not really looking like he's going to get called up by the Wild at any point. Jonathan Blum obviously was doing pretty well as a defenseman, and he's now on the Minnesota Wild, and we'll see where things go there. Not been factoring in the scoring up in the NHL level, but pretty high-scoring defenseman down in the AHL. So that's where we're going to wrap things up. I mean, the Iowa Wild, this is about as boring a season as we've seen with our AHL affiliate in an awfully long time. It's a shame. Hopefully Zach Phillips can step up next season, but not too optimistic right now with that one. We'll see. I mean, he's just slower to develop than some of the others, and we'll see. Not everybody works out, obviously. So there it is. Jason Zucker obviously out for the season. He was scoring goals at a pretty high level. He would have probably been scoring like crazy right now. He would have most definitely been leading that team in scoring. But again, what can you do? He's out for the year, and obviously for a while he was on the Wild but getting scratched. So there it is. Iowa Wild is like a big snooze fest. Tyler Kuma, talk about snooze fest. I'm not even going to talk about it. So we'll just leave things as is right now with that club. Thanks again, guys. Thanks again. No, thanks again for listening. Do tell a friend about the show. Would appreciate it. And again, those of you that have been listening all year, really appreciate you very, very, very much. This is kind of a small show. Would like to see it grow, but again, for those of you that have been listening, God bless you. Really, really, really appreciate you. The Mark Carlson, Sebastian Balls. I believe Deb Costa does listen. She posts on the page, so I do appreciate you very much. And others out there that haven't really been commenting all too much. Maybe Cindy Carlson listens with Mark, I hope. But Deb Koska, I'm really sorry, Koska. I do apologize to you, Deb, if you are listening. So if I mispronounce your name there, that I did mispronounce your name, I do apologize. And some of you guys out there that have been listening, guys and gals, don't be afraid to post on the Facebook page or even tweet me at Brave the Wild. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. I could use the friends, man. I'm lonely over here, right? But I did have some tweets, though. Not sure if these are listeners, but people on Twitter. I should mention something right here. Al Lombard was saying he would have dumped Mike Yeo after last season. I kind of agree. Yeah, I kind of agree. Don't blame you with that one. Tom Hohen, not sure if he's listening, but yeah, he was not sure if he's a listener, but maybe. I'll get to another one here too. Man, there's a couple, which is not. Yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah, Lance Patterson was saying too much on this talent to play this way over and over again, and I can't agree more. I mean, that is so damn true. Oh man, that was after one of the horrible games this past week. Tom Hohen was saying he was having fun with me there, making fun of Mike Yeo. Of course, I was saying Yeo is done. 3 straight swan dives in 3 straight years. 3 strikes, you're out. Tom Hohen saying, no, this free fall isn't like the others. Roll his eyes and yep, I know where you're going there. I agree. Yeah, that's basically like Mike Yeo talking. Like, this isn't like the others. We're doing fine. And it's like, yeah. Mike Yeo, yeah, I'm not a huge fan, and it's funny because I can see myself really liking him as a person. I think he'd be an awesome assistant coach, and obviously, if the Wild were like a young developing team, he'd be a great coach for that team. But for a team that's trying to kind of win now here with young guys and veterans, I don't know, it's kind of not going so hot. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see where things go here. We're just going to have to wait and see where things go. So again, as I was trying to say, do tell a friend. Do appreciate you all very, very much. And we will be back next week for hopefully a more positive week than expected. We shall see.